Hey, 7th grade. We are ready for chapter 10 of The Giver. This week, the assignment's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be reading, get ready for this, I'm going to read 4 chapters to you. Your assignment's not going to be humongous though, so don't flip out. And 2 chapters are together because chapter 11 is pretty short. So today you'll hear chapter 10, tomorrow you'll get chapter 11 and 12. And then Wednesday, chapter 13. On Wednesday, I'm going to put the questions out for all 3 chapters. So instead of 3 assignments, you'll get 1 assignment with the chapter questions on it. And then an IXL on Thursday. And then Friday can be catch-up day like we have been doing the last couple of weeks. Okay, so let's get those assignments turned in. Make sure that you are listening to these, that you are reading, that you are not looking things up online. Some of you are like looking up stuff and it's coming from the movie. Guys, I've been teaching this book for a long time. I know the differences between the book and the movie. You need to read this, okay, or at least listen to me read this. Okay, that's why I'm recording myself reading it. So in case you're having trouble with some of the text, that you can listen to it instead. So stop looking things up online. Most of you have stopped that, thank you. Okay, but some of you are still doing it. Okay, I mean, come on, right? 7th grade, the end of 7th grade. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Have a little of what Jonas has, that integrity, okay? Doing the right thing. So if you have questions, email me. If you don't understand something, email me. Private message me in the comments, whatever. But stop looking stuff up online, okay? All right, so without further ado, this is chapter 10. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get right in there. So Jonas has been given his assignment as the receiver of memory. He will be the new receiver of memory. And this makes him feel a little weird because he's the only one, and he was given that list of rules, remember, including that he could lie, which triggered a whole lot of questions in his mind. So can everybody lie? He doesn't know. So he's very confused, and he's about to start his first day of his new training. So this is chapter 10. I go in here, Jonas, Fiona told him when they reached the front door of the House of the Old after parking their bicycles in the designated area. I don't know why I'm nervous, she confessed. I've been here so often before. Excuse me, of course, I have to yawn as soon as I start. She turned her folder over in her hands. Well, everything's different now, Jonas reminded her. Even the nameplates on our bikes, Fiona laughed. During the night, the nameplate of each new 12 had been removed by the maintenance crew and replaced with the style that indicated citizen in training. I don't want to be late, she said hastily and started up the steps. If we finish at the same time, I'll ride home with you. Jonas nodded, waved to her, and headed around the building toward the annex, a small wing attached to the back. He certainly didn't want to be late for his first day of training either. The annex was very ordinary, its door unremarkable. He reached for the heavy handle, then noticed a buzzer on the wall, so he buzzed instead. Yes, the voice came through a small speaker above the buzzer. It's Jonas, I'm the new, come in. A click indicated that the door had been unlatched. The lobby was very small and contained only a desk at which a female attendant sat working on some papers. She looked up when he entered, then to his surprise, she stood. It was a small thing, the standing, but no one had ever stood automatically to acknowledge Jonas's presence before. So standing when somebody enters the room, even in our community today, that's a mark of respect. So if you're waiting for somebody, they come in, you stand up, you know, if you had been sitting down. So of course you wouldn't for a friend, somebody who you're just casual with, but if you're in a business situation, you know, then that's what you do. Or, you know, like a whole family, if somebody, you know, older comes in, you stand up as a mark of respect. So in Jonas's community, that's also a thing. And Jonas is surprised because being a child, nobody's ever stood up when he came in before, but the female attendant does. So he's already getting a lot of respect as the new receiver. "Welcome, receiver of memory," she said respectfully. "Oh, please," he replied uncomfortably, "call me Jonas." She smiled, pushed a button, and he heard a click that unlocked the door to her left. "You may go right on in," she told him. Then she seemed to notice his discomfort and to realize its origin. No doors in the community were locked, ever. None that Jonas knew of, anyway. Can you imagine that? Not locking doors, and that's the thing, they don't lock their doors. "The locks are simply to ensure the receiver's privacy because he needs concentration," she explained. "It would be difficult if citizens wandered in looking for the Department of Bicycle Repair or something." Jonas laughed, relaxing a little. The woman seemed very friendly, and it was true. In fact, it was a joke throughout the community that the Department of Bicycle Repair, an unimportant little office, was relocated so often that no one ever knew where it was. "There's nothing dangerous here," she told him. "But," she added, glancing at the wall clock, "he doesn't like to be kept waiting." Jonas hurried through the door and found himself in a comfortably furnished living area. It was not unlike his own family unit's dwelling. Furniture was standard throughout the community, practical, sturdy, the function of each piece clearly defined: a bed for sleeping, a table for eating, a desk for studying. All of those things were in this spacious room, though each was slightly different from those in his own dwelling. The fabrics on the upholstered chairs and sofa were slightly thicker and more luxurious. The table legs were not straight like those at home, but slender and curved, with a small carved decoration at the foot. The bed, in an alcove at the far end of the room, was draped with a splendid cloth embroidered over its entire surface with intricate designs. But the most conspicuous difference was the books. In his own dwelling, there were the necessary reference volumes that each household contained, a dictionary and the thick community volume which contained descriptions of every office, factory, and building and committee, and the Book of Rules, of course. The books in his own dwelling were the only books that Jonas had ever seen. He had never known that other books existed. But this room's walls were completely covered by bookcases, filled, which reached to the ceiling. There must have been hundreds, perhaps thousands of books, their titles embossed in shiny letters. Jonas stared at them. He couldn't imagine what the thousands of pages contained. Could there be rules beyond rules that govern the community? Could be there more descriptions of offices and factories and committees? Okay, let's stop here and talk about this. They have 3 books in their house. That's it. They have a dictionary, so you can look up words. A description, the community volume, which describes all of the offices, factories, buildings, all of that, and the Book of Rules. That's it. And in the receiver of memories office in his home, there are thousands of books. I mean, just right here, these are just some of my books that I have. I can't imagine a life without books and no stories too. I want to point that out. He's wondering, he's looking at all those books and he's thinking, are these more rule books? They don't have such things as storybooks. They don't have novels. They don't have graphic novels. They don't have those things. That's it. Those 3 books are all people have. And I mean, again, this is just a small amount of the books that I have. And then we have the books that Mr. Brown has and our kids, and it's crazy. So books are not a thing in this community. So again, another weird thing, like they don't have animals, they also don't have books. Okay? He had only a second to look around because he was aware that the man sitting in a chair beside the table was watching him. Hastily, he moved forward, stood before the man, bowed slightly, and said, "I'm Jonas." "I know. Welcome, receiver of memory." Jonas recognized the man. He was the elder who had seemed separate from the others at the ceremony, though he was dressed in the same special clothing that only elders wore. Jonas looked self-consciously into the pale eyes that mirrored his own. "Sir, I apologize for my lack of understanding." He waited, but the man did not give the standard accepting of apology response. After a moment, Jonas went on. But I think, he corrected, reminding himself that if precision of language were ever to be important, it was certainly important now, in the presence of this man, that you are the receiver of memory. I was only assigned, selected yesterday. I'm not anything at all, not yet. The man looked at him thoughtfully, silently. It was a look that combined interest, curiosity, concern, and perhaps a little sympathy as well. Finally, he spoke, beginning today, this moment, at least to me, you are the receiver. I have been the receiver for a long time, a very, very long time. You can see that, can't you? Jonas nodded. The man was wrinkled, and his eyes, though piercing in their unusual lightness, seemed tired. The flesh around them was darkened into shadowed circles. I can see that you are very old, Jonas responded with respect. The old were always given the highest respect. Now, today, if you call somebody old, that's generally not a good thing, right? Um, People don't like to think of themselves as being old, but in this community, and in a lot of communities actually around the world, people that are old get a lot of respect because they've been around a long time. They've seen a lot of things. So being old is a mark of respect, not of anything disrespectful. Okay? The man smiled. He touched the sagging flesh on his own face with amusement. I am not actually as old as I look, he told Jonas. This job has aged me. I know I look as if I should be scheduled for release very soon, but actually I have a good deal of time left. I was pleased, though, when you were selected. It took them a long time. The failure of the previous selection was 10 years ago, and my energy is starting to diminish. I need what strength I have remaining for your training. We have hard and painful work to do, you and I. Please sit down, he said, and gestured toward the nearby chair. Jonas lowered himself onto the soft cushioned seat. The man closed his eyes and continued speaking. When I became a 12, I was selected as you were. I was frightened, as I'm sure you are. He opened his eyes for a moment and peered at Jonas, who nodded. The eyes closed again. I came to this very room to begin my training. It was such a long time ago. The previous receiver seemed just as old to me as I do to you. He was just as tired as I am today. He sat forward suddenly, opened his eyes, and said, You may ask questions. I have so little experience in describing this process. It is forbidden to talk of it. I know, sir. I have read the instructions, Jonas said. So I may neglect to make things as clear as I should, the man chuckled. My job is important and has enormous honor, but that does not mean I am perfect, and when I tried before to train a successor, I failed. Please ask any questions that will help you. In his mind, Jonas had questions, 1,000, 1,000,000 questions, as many questions as there were books lining the walls, but he did not ask one, not yet. The man sighed, seeming to put his thoughts in order. Then he spoke again. Simply stated, he said, although it's not really simple at all, my job is to transmit to you all the memories I have within me, memories of the past. Sir, Jonas said tentatively, I would be very interested to hear the story of your life and to listen to your memories. I apologize for interrupting, he added quickly. The man waved his hand impatiently. No apologies in this room. We haven't time. Well, Jonas went on, uncomfortably aware that he might be interrupting again. I am really interested. I don't mean that I'm not, but I don't exactly understand why it's so important. I could do some adult job in the community, and in my recreation time I could come and listen to the stories from your childhood. I'd like that. Actually, he added, I've done that already in the House of the Old. The old like to tell about their childhoods, and it's always fun to listen. The man shook his head. No, no, he said, I'm not being clear. It's not my past, not my childhood that I must transmit to you. He leaned back, resting his head against the back of the upholstered chair. It's the memories of the whole world, he said with a sigh. Before you, before me, before the previous receiver, and generations before him. So Jonas thinks that he's there just to listen to this man's memories, his own, the man's memories from when he was a child. He thinks, oh, this is the job. Maybe I should do something else. But that's not it. This man has the memories of the whole world. Now, I marked some of you down on your questions from last week because that's what you told me, that's what clues me in that people are looking stuff up online. That's why you don't do it. You don't know what's coming in the book. I do. Like I said, I've been teaching this book a very long time. It's pretty much memorized. So please, again, don't look stuff up online. Thank you very much. Jonas frowned. The whole world, he asked. I don't understand. Do you mean not just us, not just the community? Do you mean elsewhere too? He tried in his mind to grasp the concept. I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand exactly. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I don't know what you mean when you say the whole world or generations before him. I thought there was only us. I thought there was only now. There was much more. There's all that goes beyond, all that is elsewhere, and all that goes back and back and back. I received all of those when I was selected, and here in this room, all alone, I re-experience them again and again. It is how wisdom comes and how we shape our future. He rested for a moment, breathing deeply. I am so weighted with them, he said. Jonas felt a terrible concern for the man suddenly. It's as if the man paused, seeming to search his mind for the right words of description. It's like going downhill through deep snow on a sled, he said finally. At first, it's exhilarating, the speed, the sharp, clear air, but then the snow accumulates, builds up on the runners, and you slow. You have to push hard to keep going, and he shook his head suddenly and peered at Jonas. That meant nothing to you, did it? He asked. Jonas was confused. I didn't understand it, sir. Of course you didn't. You don't know what snow is, do you? Jonas shook his head. Or a sled. Runners? No, sir, Jonas said. Downhill. The term means nothing to you. Nothing, sir. Well, it's a place to start. I've been wondering how to begin. Move to the bed and lie face down. Remove your tunic first. Jonas did so, a little apprehensively. Beneath his bare chest, he felt the soft folds of the magnificent cloth that covered the bed. He watched as the man rose and moved first to the wall where the speaker was. It was the same sort of speaker that occupied a place in every dwelling, but one thing about it was different. This one had a switch, which the man deftly snapped to the end that said off. Jonas almost gasped aloud. To have the power to turn the speaker off, it was an astonishing thing. So if you can turn the speaker off, you don't hear any announcements. And more importantly, they don't hear anything you say. None of the other speakers in the community have off switches. People are always listening to you. They're always watching you, and there's no way for you to stop it. There really isn't any sort of privacy. But here in the receiver's house, there is, and Jonas is shocked. Okay? Then the man moved with surprising quickness to the corner where the bed was. He sat on a chair beside Jonas, who was motionless, waiting for what would happen next. Close your eyes, relax. This will not be painful. Jonas remembered that he was allowed, that he had even been encouraged to ask questions. What are you going to do, sir? He asked, hoping that his voice didn't betray his nervousness. I'm going to transmit the memory of snow, the old man said, and placed his hands on Jonas's bare back. Okay, so he's going to give Jonas these memories by touching him, by putting his hands on him. So tomorrow when we read chapters 11 and 12, we'll read about the first memory that he transmits. If you have questions about this video, about this chapter, you need to leave them in the comments. You need to email me, okay? Do not look stuff up online, okay? All right, see you tomorrow for chapters 11 and 12.